good idea. We don't want to come down on one side or the other. Let's just say no. And they didn't personally have to say no. The White House just said,
yeah, it was the end of the day.
The whole thing started like every Sussex scandal does. Quiet whispers, a suspicious leak, a couple of cryptic headlines that the Markle supporters insisted were misinterpretations, and then boom! America woke up to the news that the long-rumored Royal U.S. tour Harry and Meghan had been angling for had been completely and publicly snubbed. And not just ignored, exposed.
Denied that request, apparently worried it could cause some negative.
What was supposed to be their grand comeback moment, their polished PR reset, their big, "we're still relevant, guys," power move, evaporated overnight. And the meltdown behind the scenes? Oh, it was volcanic. People close to the situation swear the couple was already crafting outfits, mapping photo ops, planning speeches, and pitching themselves as this hybrid Hollywood meets royalty force. Meghan had reportedly prepared a whole themed wardrobe, classic American designers with subtle Duchess flair, as one stylist put it. And Harry was supposedly practicing speeches about unity, purpose, and healing the transatlantic bond. Yes, healing the bond, as if he's the ambassador of anything other than Montecito drama.
Prince Harry, yes, good. Gun cop U-turn, Home Office review guard.
But none of that mattered, because every U.S. institution they quietly approached, universities, political groups, advocacy organizations, high-profile charities, apparently gave them the same polite, diplomatic answer. Thank you, but no. And in America, that kind of rejection spreads fast. It started with one insider leak that they were not on any official State Department radar. Then another story hit that multiple East Coast organizations had declined to host them due to optics concerns. Then a West Coast event planner broke the silence and said the couple's team had been requesting stages, gala slots, keynote opportunities, all denied. And when the rejections lined up like dominoes, the narrative exploded. Harry and Meghan didn't abandon the UK. The US just doesn't want to host them. Now, imagine being Meghan Markle, self-declared global humanitarian, podcast philosopher, fashion-forward Duchess of Reinvention, and realizing every big American stage is quietly but firmly closing the door on you.
Social media's devastating impact on their children. There was no better place to share this.
Imagine being Harry, who gave up the entire royal machine because he thought he'd shine brighter in the land of freedom and celebrity, only to discover America prefers the other royals, the ones who don't throw tantrums on Netflix. People close to the couple say Meghan absolutely lost it when she realized the story had broken. Not just irritation, not just confusion, no. One source described her reaction as a full emotional avalanche. She was screaming about disrespect, pacing through the house in Montecito, demanding to know who sabotaged them, ranting about jealous palace operatives, planting stories to ruin their brand. Harry, on the other hand, reportedly shut down, totally quiet, pale, staring at his phone like it might suddenly deliver a miracle invitation. One insider even said he muttered, "This can't be real," more than once. But oh, it was real. For months, the Sussex team had been quietly trying to engineer a U.S. tour, styled like the royal tours Harry grew up doing. Big crowds, red carpets, official hosts, the works. Not a proper royal tour, obviously, but a celebrity version with royal undertones. Meghan allegedly wanted the tour to be framed around female empowerment, cultural unity, and modern leadership. While Harry, well, people say Harry just wanted something that made him feel important again. The irony is brutal. The man who ran from royal duty because he hated the pressure, now desperately trying to recreate royal relevance in the States, and failing, spectacularly. And here's where the story takes its sharpest turn. According to several sources, the reason so many American organizations refused to participate wasn't just reputational uncertainty. It was because many feared the optics of aligning with a couple perceived as divisive. Too political, too unpredictable, too dramatic. One event coordinator spelled it out. They want royal prestige without royal responsibility, and American audiences aren't buying it anymore. Even worse, Word spread that major companies had grown wary of being associated with the Sussex brand, calling it unsteady and risk-laden. Exactly the opposite of what the couple desperately needs right now. And all of this reached the couple while they were still trying to pretend everything was fine. Meghan had posted a carefully curated social media photo just days earlier, wearing a flawless outfit and smiling like the world was her red carpet. Harry had been spotted jogging in Montecito with a security team, waving to cameras as if everything was sunshine and charity work. So when the story broke, when the headlines started popping up, when morning shows began discussing the American Royal SNUB, that mask cracked instantly. What really fueled the meltdown was the scale of it. This wasn't a single rejection. It was the entire American public stage turning its back at the same time. You could almost hear the echoes of royal courtiers whispering, "We tried to warn you, Harry." Some insiders claim Meghan instantly blamed Buckingham Palace, that she went on a tirade about Prince William blacklisting her globally, that she claimed Charles had personally made calls to ensure no American stage legitimizes them. Others say she lashed out at Harry, furious that the family she married into still had the power to overshadow her dreams. And Harry reportedly just sat there in stunned silence, realizing that all the bridges they burned weren't smoking, they were gone. But the worst part, and the part that sent them both spiraling, was the reaction across American social media. Instead of sympathy or outrage, the public started laughing, mocking, making memes. TikTok exploded, Twitter trended, comments flooded Instagram. And the tone was the same everywhere. Why would the U.S. host them when they spend all their time complaining? They tried to out-royal actual royals and failed. Hollywood already moved on. America doesn't do Duchess cosplay. And the comment that kept popping up over and over, they wanted freedom, now they're free and irrelevant. Harry reportedly took that one hard. Very hard.
Highly anticipated tour of Nigeria, but many are still wondering what the purpose.
Because deep down, he knows what the snub means. He knows that if America, the land of celebrity worship, reinvention, and second chances, has decided they're too much drama, then there's nowhere left to go. Not back to the UK, not into Hollywood, not into politics, not into activism. When America publicly shrugs at you, the message is clear. The show is over. And that is the moment the meltdown became unavoidable. The story didn't calm down. It detonated. Within hours, every major U.S. network had panels discussing what the Royal U.S. tour snub meant. Commentators who once praised Meghan's fashion and Harry's activism were now openly questioning the couple's strategy, and more importantly, their appeal. One morning show host put it bluntly, "If Americans wanted royalty, they'd focus on the ones who aren't suing their families." Ouch. And the hits kept coming. PR experts started chiming in, calling the attempted U.S. tour a miscalculation, tone-deaf, and a fundamental misunderstanding of public sentiment. Several even compared the Sussex brand to a sinking ship that keeps trying to patch holes with press releases. Behind the scenes, the Sussex team apparently scrambled like never before. Phone calls, emergency meetings, frantic emails, trying to figure out who leaked the information, who sabotaged the plans, and how in the world they could spin the narrative before it swallowed them. But spin only works when people still care. And that was the real sting. The reaction wasn't anger, it was boredom. Eye rolls, shrugs, jokes. America wasn't outraged at Harry and Meghan. America was tired of them. And Meghan, who has spent her entire adult life trying to stay at the center of the conversation, couldn't stand that. Insiders say she started pushing ideas for re-engagement, a new interview, a new charity photo op, maybe a podcast teaser, possibly even a documentary announcement. But none of it stuck. Nothing grabbed traction. And you know Meghan, silence from the public is the one thing she absolutely cannot handle.
Particular show to rebrand herself.
Harry, meanwhile, reportedly spiraled into full panic mode. Some sources claim he called several contacts in the U.S. nonprofit world, asking if the stuff being said on the news was true. Were they really hesitant to work with him? Was he really too controversial? Was Meghan really hurting their credibility? Those who responded were gentle, but honest. Yes, yes, and yes. Word is, one charity leader told him, "Your causes are strong, but your presence now brings noise, not focus." That one tore him apart. But the worst blow was yet to come, because eventually, the truth surfaced. It wasn't Buckingham Palace, it wasn't William, it wasn't Charles, it wasn't royal jealousy or British sabotage. It was Jeff Bezos. Indirectly, but unmistakably. According to several insiders, Amazon had been quietly approached months earlier as a potential partner for parts of the Sussex tour, streaming content, documentary tie-ins, maybe even philanthropic collaborations. Meghan reportedly saw it as her big chance to elevate the Sussex brand into something Oprah-level huge. But after the Montecito circles started talking, after multiple Hollywood figures warned Amazon that the couple brought drama, instability, and audience fatigue, Bezos' team said no. Then came the final nail in the coffin, whispers that Bezos himself, who hates chaos of any kind, made it very clear he wanted nothing Sussex-related on his plate. And word travels fast in Hollywood. As soon as Amazon stepped back, every other organization followed. No one wanted to be the one holding the Sussex hot potato. And when Meghan heard that the dominoes fell because Hollywood's quiet king didn't want his reputation anywhere near her circus, oh, that meltdown was nuclear. Sources say she accused Hollywood elites of being two-faced, deceptive, and terrified of strong women. She allegedly insisted Bezos was being manipulated by palace forces, hiding in American corporations. She even told someone close to her that the U.S. owed her support because of her contributions to American culture. What contributions? No one is quite sure. Harry, meanwhile, was hit with a problem he hadn't anticipated. He genuinely likes Bezos. The two had met once briefly, with Bezos complimenting him on Invictus, and Harry feeling genuinely encouraged. To hear that the tech titan wanted absolutely nothing to do with the Sussex machine, it broke him. The worst part is, the couple didn't even know how badly things had gone until the SNUB went public. They thought they were in talks. They thought their plans were moving forward. They thought everything was falling into place. When in reality, every decision-maker on the American power ladder was quietly stepping away. And it didn't help that royal watchers in Britain were thrilled, gleefully pointing out that the U.S. was finally learning what they've been dealing with for years. British commentators went on TV laughing, actually laughing, about how the Sussexes were being treated like royalty without a kingdom. Meanwhile, Netflix and Spotify executives were reportedly watching the whole disaster with raised eyebrows. Netflix. If the US won't book them, how are we supposed to promote anything? Spotify. We already cut them loose. This just proves we were right. And in Montecito, chaos. Meghan allegedly held multiple emergency PR calls, insisting they salvage the tour with a new angle. Harry apparently suggested they lay low for a bit, which reportedly triggered another eruption because Meghan refuses to disappear from public view after all the work she's put in. One insider who claims to have been present during the frenzy said Meghan kept repeating, "This isn't happening. We are global figures. We are leaders." But America had spoken, and Hollywood had spoken, and the corporate world had spoken. The Sussex brand was no longer shining. It was flickering. And the saddest part? Harry saw it. He finally, painfully, saw it. While Meghan screamed about sabotage and jealousy, Harry sat quietly, realizing that the world wasn't punishing him. It was moving on without him. And for the first time, he didn't know where he belonged. It's around this point in the unfolding transatlantic drama that America really starts buzzing. Not because Harry and Meghan planned something groundbreaking, nor because the Sussex brand suddenly found a new gear, but because the absence of something, namely a royal-level welcome, became the story. And as anyone in PR will tell you, a void is the easiest thing for the media to fill, and they fill it fast. Before anyone knew it, morning talk shows across the US were dissecting every detail. Why weren't they on the schedule? Was this an oversight or intentional? Are relations between Washington and the Sussexes cooling? The questions got louder with each passing broadcast, and every panel of commentators seemed strangely delighted to take their turn. You could practically hear producers cheering in the background. Another day, another Sussex segment guaranteed to spike viewership. And don't think for a second Harry and Meghan weren't watching it all unfold in real time. Oh no, they were absolutely tuned in. Meghan had CNN, MSNBC, and even Fox on rotation. Because good or bad, coverage is coverage, and she needs to know the temperature at all times. Harry, meanwhile, hovered in the background, somewhere between frustrated and exhausted, muttering the occasional, "Why does this keep happening?" as though the universe had singled him out for personalized inconvenience. But the real fuel to the fire came when a DC insider, anonymous, naturally, told a popular podcast that the White House was being cautious about any photo ops with the Sussexes, given the optics. The moment that word dropped, the internet took off like a rocket. Optics? Twitter, well, X went wild. Comment sections ballooned. Instagram gossip accounts blasted the clip with flashing siren emojis. And Meghan? Oh, she hated that. Not merely disliked, hated. Because the word optics implies that someone has been watching closely and didn't like what they saw. It suggests risk, and Meghan does not do well with the idea of being viewed as risky, especially by institutions she wants to impress. What followed at the Montecito mansion was what one staffer, speaking hypothetically of course, described as a 72-hour frenzy. Meghan worked the phones like she was running a political campaign, rather than prepping for a non-existent royal tour. Publicists, brand strategists, charity partners, entertainment contacts. She was calling everyone. Even that PR firm she swore she'd never work with again magically reappeared in the inbox at 3 a.m. Meanwhile, Harry tried to downplay the whole thing, insisting the media were just exaggerating as usual. But then an American poll dropped, one showing that while Americans still like the royal family, they're growing a bit tired of the Sussex narrative. That hit differently. Meghan stared at the numbers like a general reading battlefield losses. Harry stared like he was trying to solve a Sudoku without clues. But what truly put them both on edge was the glaring, unavoidable realization that this U.S. tour, this big moment they wanted so badly, wasn't happening. At least, not in the way they imagined. Meghan had hoped for something glamorous, polished, a kind of unofficial royal diplomatic circuit across American cities. Maybe not state dinners, but certainly high-level meet and greets, some photo ops, a sprinkling of prestige. What they got instead was silence, a silence so loud it hummed. Eventually, Meghan tried to salvage the narrative by suggesting they go on what she framed as a people's tour. Smaller venues, grassroots events, maybe some intimate conversations with communities. But Harry couldn't shake the feeling that it would look too transparent, like they were trying to manufacture importance after being passed over. Their advisors agreed, though none dared say it outright, that the best move was probably to lay low until the news cycle moved on. Except, of course, laying low is the one thing Meghan cannot do. She thrives on forward motion, on activity, on relevance. Standing still feels like sinking. So instead, she pivoted. If the Royal U.S. tour wasn't happening, she'd make something better happen, or at least attempt to. She instructed the team to explore options, new partnerships, high-profile speaking engagements, maybe even a major televised interview. Harry grimaced at that suggestion, but Meghan brushed it aside. These things weren't optional now, they were necessary. Still, the problem with pivoting is timing, and Meghan's timing couldn't have been worse, because as she pushed forward, the American press was still feasting on the SNUB story. Nighttime comedians worked the material into their monologues. One joked that the Sussexes were waiting by the phone like an ex who keeps texting, "Hey," even though the breakup was 3 years ago. Harry didn't find that one funny. Meghan found it infuriating. And then came the editorial in a prominent newspaper. A calmly written piece, no sarcasm, no sensationalism, simply asking whether the Sussexes had finally overplayed their hand in the U.S. The argument? That Americans had welcomed them enthusiastically in 2020. But after years of interviews, documentaries, and drama, many felt they hadn't really seen the positive impact they promised. It wasn't harsh, it wasn't mocking, it was worse. It was reasonable. Meghan's reaction was immediate. "This is coordinated," she insisted, pacing through the kitchen with her phone in hand as Harry tried to eat breakfast. "Someone is pushing a narrative. Someone wants us minimized." Harry, trying to remain calm, said, "Or maybe it's just one article." But Meghan wasn't having it, because another realization had begun to settle in, a heavy, unwelcome one. She knew how quickly public sentiment can shift. She'd seen it before. She'd lived it. It started with small doubts, quiet criticisms, passing comments. Then before you know it, the ground gives way. Now she feared America, her chosen stage, might be starting that shift. The irony was impossible to ignore. After leaving the UK to escape scrutiny, they now found themselves trying desperately to hold on to the American spotlight, even as it flickered unpredictably. Meghan, ever the strategist, wasn't about to let that light go out. She demanded a counter-strategy, something bold, something strong, something that would reassert their position in the American public sphere. But there was a problem, a big one. Every plan she came up with depended on cooperation, from networks, brands, nonprofits, institutions. Cooperation that suddenly seemed hesitant. And the reason, whispered behind closed doors across Hollywood and New York, was always the same. Too much drama, too unpredictable, too polarizing. Let's wait and see where this goes. Exactly the thing Meghan hated hearing most. And as the whispers grew louder and the calls back grew fewer, Meghan realized this might be more than a temporary PR hiccup. This might be the beginning of something far more dangerous. This might be the start of the American SNUB cycle. And once a cycle like that begins, reversing it is a brutal, uphill fight. What made everything worse was the unmistakable shift inside the very circles Meghan had spent years trying to impress. Hollywood executives, producers, foundation heads, Silicon Valley power players. They all started doing that subtle American thing where they don't reject you outright. But somehow every meeting becomes tricky, every collaboration becomes something to revisit next quarter. And every invitation suddenly gets lost somewhere in the digital shuffle. And Meghan, sharp as she is, picked up on it instantly. She always has. One thing no one can take away from her is her ability to read a room before she even steps into it. She senses energy. She clocks hesitation. She knows when admiration turns into tolerance, and when tolerance starts morphing into vague discomfort. This wasn't her first time riding that roller coaster. But what shocked her now wasn't that some people were cooling. It was how many were cooling at once. She paced around the Montecito living room with that tight smile that says she's trying to hold it together, but internally drafting a 10-point damage control plan. Harry followed her like a loyal satellite, hands on his hips, trying to catch up with her thoughts as she spoke half sentences in rapid-fire bursts. "It doesn't make sense! Hollywood loves a comeback! They love a narrative! They love resilience! So why is everyone suddenly sheepish?" Harry shrugged, which never helps anything. She continued, "And this isn't backlash. Backlash is loud. This is avoidance. Strategic avoidance. That's worse." And she was right. Public criticism is something you can confront. You can respond, you can push back, you can redirect. But silence? Silence is a smoke signal. Silence means people are waiting to see which way the wind blows. Silence means your value is being quietly recalculated. And Meghan? She spent her whole adult life making sure her value never dips. The next big blow came from an unlikely place, the press junket for a major studio's holiday film. A handful of A-listers were asked about potential collaborations with Meghan, and while nobody said anything negative, the responses had that sugary, fake LA tone. "Oh, she's wonderful." "That would be interesting." "We'll see what the future holds." "Nothing in the works right now, but who knows?" Translation: we're staying far, far away from that situation. Meghan watched the clips online with a stiff jaw, Harry glancing at her like someone monitoring a pot about to boil over. The thing is, Meghan has built her life on the belief that every environment is a ladder, and every ladder leads somewhere. But suddenly, she wasn't seeing the rungs anymore. Meanwhile, social media was in full meltdown mode. TikTok creators, those with the ring lights and earnest expressions, were stitching each other's videos about the U.S. Royal SNUB, questioning why the Sussexes had flown so close to the sun only to get burned by their own PR firestorms. Instagram gossip pages were having a field day, sharing memes, wild theories, speculative posts about the strained tension between what Meghan wants and what America seems willing to give her. The narrative had slipped through her fingers, and she knew it. What made it more frustrating was that Harry truly believed things would blow over on their own, that if they just stayed quiet, the media would eventually shift to another target. But Meghan knew better. When a narrative shifts, it only resets if you force it to. Silence wasn't going to save them. So she did what she always does when cornered. She crafted a new plan. A documentary pitch was floated, then a book concept, then a charity project that could double as a publicity reset. She even flirted with the idea of a speaking tour focusing on leadership and resilience. But every idea had the same problem. They required someone powerful to say yes. And right now, no one wanted to be the first to say it. The final shock, at least for this phase, came when a well-connected media strategist leaked to a podcast that corporations were doing reputational risk analysis when considering Harry and Meghan for partnerships. Those 4 words, reputational risk analysis, sent Meghan over the edge. She replayed that clip 3 times, eyebrows knit in disbelief. Risk? She scoffed. They're calling me a risk? I've done nothing but advocate for causes they pretend to care about. Harry tried to calm her with soothing words, but Meghan wasn't listening. This wasn't emotional, this was strategic. She knew those 4 words circulating in PR circles were enough to make anyone hesitate. And once hesitation becomes a trend in Hollywood, good luck reversing it. Meanwhile, back in Washington, a senior political aide, speaking hypothetically, of course, offered a comment on background that made every online outlet light up instantly. The administration is keeping everything low-key with external figures right now. That was it. No names, no specifics. But the media didn't need specifics. They filled in the blanks themselves. The Sussexes were out. Whether temporarily or for good, nobody knew. But the part that really rubbed Meghan the wrong way was that no one had the spine to say it to her directly. Everything was delivered through intermediaries, representatives, unnamed insiders, anonymous briefings. To her, that level of indirect communication felt disrespectful. Meghan values clarity, even if it's brutal. So when doors began closing, softly, quietly, politely, she took it personally. And in that frustration, Meghan convinced herself of a narrative she'd fought against for years. That there were forces united in keeping her small. That her growth made people uncomfortable. That the moment she stepped outside the pre-approved script for a duchess, certain institutions decided she needed to be managed. But Harry wasn't convinced. He saw something else happening, something simpler, something more painful. He saw a public slowly getting tired of hearing from them, tired of the endless drama, tired of the interviews, tired of the constant feeling that everything was always on fire. And that scared him, because regardless of what anyone says about Harry, one thing is true: he cares deeply about how he is perceived. He always has. And the thought of slipping from admired to tolerated to ignored was something he was not emotionally equipped to handle. Meghan, on the other hand, was still fighting, still strategizing, still drafting scripts in her head, imagining conversations with decision-makers where she would charm her way back into America's good graces. But for the first time since stepping into her California reinvention, she was facing an opponent she couldn't charm, couldn't out-talk, couldn't outmaneuver. She was facing the American public, an audience that loves you intensely until suddenly it doesn't. The turning point, the moment everything shifted from annoying setback to a full-blown Montecito crisis, came on a random Wednesday morning, the kind where the sky is too perfect and the neighborhood too quiet for anything dramatic to happen. Meghan was in the kitchen going over emails when her phone buzzed with a message from someone she respected in the industry. Not a friend, not an enemy, one of those neutral Hollywood fixtures whose opinions matter because they never speak unless something is serious. The text read, "There's talk about stepping back from anything Sussex related until the political climate stabilizes. Maybe lie low for a bit." Meghan stared at it like it was written in another language. Lie low? After everything she had built? After every carefully curated moment, every partnership seeded, every relationship cultivated like a botanical garden? No, absolutely not. She marched into the living room, where Harry was half listening to a podcast about conservation or therapy or something equally earnest. She shoved the phone in his face. "Read this." Harry blinked at the message, then blinked again, then gave her that familiar, trying my best to stay calm expression. "I mean, maybe they're just being cautious," he offered gently. Meghan's voice dropped into that whispery, controlled tone she used when she was 2 seconds from yelling. "This is not caution. This is distancing." Harry looked worried, but not surprised. Meghan picked up on that instantly. "Why do you look like this is normal?" she demanded. Harry sighed. "Meg, people have been nervous for a while. The press, the tabloids, politics, everything keeps looping back to us. People don't like noise." Meghan paced across the room, muttering under her breath. "It's not noise if we're telling the truth. It's not noise if we're exposing hypocrisy. It's not noise if we're—" Harry cut in softly. "But they think it is." That sentence hung in the air. Meghan felt it like a slap. They think it is. Not they disagree, not they misunderstand, not even they need clarification. No, they think it is. That meant perception. That meant image. That meant narrative loss. And Meghan understood better than anyone that once the narrative escapes your grip, it doesn't just drift, it chooses a direction. This one wasn't drifting in their favor. Then came another blow, this time from the business side. Their team forwarded a polite, polished, painfully vague email from a major philanthropic organization the Sussexes had been courting for months. It essentially said that timing conflicts and communications restructuring made a partnership impossible at this juncture. Meghan laughed, not the amused kind, but the kind that sounds like someone holding back tears and fury at the same time. "Oh, of course, this juncture. Isn't that just the perfect corporate euphemism for your name is too hot for us right now?" Harry tried to soothe her, but there was no soothing Meghan when she was in this state. She had worked too hard, sacrificed too much, survived too many reinventions to let a wave of American discomfort decide her future. She wasn't backing down. But Hollywood was, and philanthropy circles were, and tech executives were, which is why the next event, the charity gala in Los Angeles, became Meghan's unspoken test. She walked in determined to reclaim the room, shoulders back, smile flawless, posture immaculate. A few photographers snapped photos. A few publicists waved politely, but the energy was unmistakable. Some people avoided eye contact. Some smiled a bit too tightly. Some stepped aside in that subtle way that signals a shift in social gravity. Meghan noticed everything. She always does. At one point, when she and Harry approached a Netflix executive they'd partnered with before, he greeted them warmly, but with the vibe of someone trying not to linger too long. Meghan's smile faltered for a millisecond, just long enough for Harry to see. They left early. In the car, Meghan stared out the window, jaw set, eyes glassy. Harry sat beside her, guilt heavy in his chest. He hated this, hated watching her hurt, hated feeling powerless, hated that the country he once called home wasn't the only place where he felt misjudged anymore. Back in Montecito, Meghan called an emergency meeting with their PR advisors. She wanted solutions, strategy, momentum. She wanted a plan, something bold, something definitive. But the advisors looked increasingly uncomfortable as she spoke. When she finished, the lead strategist took a breath and said the one sentence Meghan never expected from her own team. "Meghan, maybe this is a good time to step back a little." Meghan stared at her like she had grown 2 heads. "Step back? Step back? The only people who step back are people who have something to hide. I have nothing to hide." Harry touched her arm gently. "Maybe they're just saying we should let things cool down." Meghan pulled her arm away, not harshly, but with the firm precision of someone who had just been stung. "Cooling down is for people who don't know how to direct the narrative. I do." But even she could feel the shift. Her team wasn't as confident. Her supporters weren't as loud. Her partners weren't as eager. And the American public, God bless them, was fickle. They loved her when she was the rebel duchess, breaking free from the cold palace walls. They tolerated her when she reinvented herself as a humanitarian entrepreneur. But now they were giving her that look, that Hollywood look, the one that says, "We're not sure you're worth the trouble anymore." And as Meghan paced around the room, crafting a speech she would never end up giving, Harry sank onto the sofa, rubbing his eyes. He felt the weight of all of it, her stress, the public shift, his own anxieties. He felt the pressure building again, the kind that made his chest tight and his voice soft. He wanted to protect her. He wanted to protect himself. He wanted to protect their brand, their family, their story. But for the first time since leaving the UK, it felt like the storm wasn't behind them. It was here, in America, in Montecito, and it wasn't letting up.